Hi everybody, my name's Will and I study the amazing, wonderful world of migration. And does anyone know what I mean by migration? Yes, you there.
When something kind of goes somewhere warmer to find it like nature.
Exactly, it's the movement of an animal to get somewhere so they can remain in conditions in warmer places so they can continue to perform all their life's, like what they need. So to keep feeding, to keep finding mates, and just, yes, you're exactly right. And so today we're going to be talking about which animals are the best at this. And we're going to find out which animals fly the furthest. We're going to find out which animals fly the furthest without stopping. And then we're going to work out how these amazing animals are able to navigate and how they can find out where they're going on this journey. Before finally, we're going to find out which animal is the best. Okay, one question.
I know which bird can fly longest.
Hold that thought. You might have to tell me in a bit. Okay, first, we're going to talk about mammals. And we're going to think which mammal has the longest migration of any land mammals. Which mammal that lives on land goes the furthest? At the back there. No, so do you all know what a mammal is? A mammal is something that's warm-blooded and has fur. Like us, exactly. And has perfect. Yes. Exactly right. So putting all that together, do you know what land mammal might go the furthest? Yes, you there. Oh, a wolf is an excellent choice, but not quite right. It's right at the back in the corner.
Reindeer?
Oh,
Reindeer?
you're actually, sorry about that, but you're absolutely right. Reindeer are the best. They're amazing creatures. And reindeer, they actually travel every year, they go 5,000 kilometers, which is huge. And they live right up in the north, in North America, and then in northern, yes, in Canada, and up in the North Pole, of course, in Lapland, so Father Christmas knows all about them, as well as right across Siberia and Russia. And they travel 5,000 kilometers every year, and they do so because they're looking for their food. And can anyone tell me what reindeer eat? Yes.
Like plants and fishes in the grass.
Very close, but there's a very specific type of plant or near plant that they eat. Yeah.
Carrots.
Some very specific reindeer do eat carrots, yes. Okay, one more guess, right at the back. Oh, no, that's also the magical kind of reindeer. In fact, most reindeer eat reindeer moss, which is this lovely sort of fluffy sort of moss that you find in the far north. And they migrate such great distances just so they can eat this. And reindeer are really, really tough. They can survive in conditions of -50 degrees C, which is really, really cold. And they also have to get away from predators like your wolves. And they're really, really good at this. A one-day-old reindeer. Now, some of you have little brothers and sisters. How much could they do when they're 1 day old? Could they walk? Could they talk? No. Well, reindeer, 1 day old reindeer can run faster than Usain Bolt, the fastest Olympic sprinter. It's incredible. And they do this because they've got to get away from these predators like these wolves. Right. But Father Christmas's reindeer are even more impressive, as you all know. They, on 1 day, they have to fly right around the world, delivering presents to all of you. And they do this in just 30 hours. This journey is 80,000 kilometers long, which is absolutely massive. They do it in just 30 hours. And they go at speeds 1,700 miles an hour, 1,700 miles an hour, which is 3 times faster than a jumbo jet. Just, they're such magical animals, aren't they? Okay, we found out which is the fastest land mammal. Now, can any of you tell me which is the fastest animal or mammal that lives in the sea and migrates the furthest? Okay, in the very corner of the back.
Dolphin.
Oh, very close. They're closely related to dolphins. Yes, you there? Sorry?
Shark.
Oh, not quite a shark. Okay, one more guess.
Albatross.
Oh no, we're looking for something that lives under the water. Okay. Oh, porpoise. Go on, someone's got to get it. You there?
Orca.
Oh, so close. It is a type of orca. You're basically there. It is a whale, and it's one of the whales that eats krill, like a blue whale does. The grey whale has the longest migration of any mammal, land or sea. And they make an amazing journey. They go 22,500 kilometers. They start down here on the west coast of America before going right up north into Alaska, where they spend their whole summer eating lots of plankton and krill. The tiniest animals feed the biggest animals, and they get really, really fat before they go south again, their long journey to the winter breeding grounds, where they can find other whales to mate with and make more whales to continue the migration. Okay, we've spoken about the mammals. Now, which type of animal has the longest migration? So it could be a bird, it could be an insect. Insects are really cool migrants, by the way. Maybe a slug, a frog. What do you think? What sort of animal could have the longest? Okay, you first, yes. Well, spiders, they don't, but spiders are amazing because they have smallest ones. I don't know if you've seen Charlotte's Web, but they can put up web from their behinds, and then it gets onto the wind currents and it pulls them up. And spiders have been found like tens and tens of kilometers high in the air using wind currents to push them about. But yes, you there, I think you know the answer. It's not quite an albatross, but it's very, very closely related to an albatross. It is a seabird, and the longest migration of any animal is the Arctic tern. Did you? I'm sorry, they're amazing things. Do you? Oh, so cool.
We've also had the correct answer on the chat too.
Oh, amazing. Perfect. Thanks, Emma. So yes, these animals go 96,000 kilometers, which is so far. They go from where Father Christmas lives, up in the North Pole near Lapland and everything. So they probably see Father Christmas prepping all your presents all summer long. Before, in the autumn, they go on the green line there, they go right down to the South Pole. They go from pole to pole on their migration before they loop round and then they go back up to the top again. 96,000 kilometers. And these birds, they're about this big or so, and they live for 30 years. And in that time, they could do a journey. If they're migrating every single year, they may travel 3 million kilometers in their lifespan. And this number may be a bit arbitrary, but 3 million kilometers is from here to the moon and nearly back again 4 times. And this is a bird this big and is making this amazing, amazing journeys. So yes, we've got the whales in 3rd place on our great migration. I wonder if I can get rid of this. Oh, I might not be able to. Okay, but yes, the longest migrants are the whales, and then we've got Father Christmas's magical reindeer, which go 80,000 kilometers. But even then, they're beaten by the Arctic tern going 96,000 kilometers. Truly amazing animals, aren't they? But the reindeer are also better, the magical reindeer, because they can fly all their whole journey without stopping. Well, I guess they do stop a little bit because they have to land on your houses to let Father Christmas get off and go down the chimney to deliver your presents. But they have to make this whole 80,000 kilometer journey in just one journey. They don't stop. Whereas the whales, they'll rest, the birds, the Arctic terns, they'll rest. but some animals do make amazing journeys without stopping. And first, we've got this beautiful thing. This is a bar-tailed godwit, and they're wading birds. And so they live on the edge of the coastlines, and they eat invertebrate insects and other animals in the mud there. And they fly from Alaska right down to New Zealand in one go. Now, have any of you ever exercised non-stop for 8 days? Have you? It's an amazing, amazing thing. Milcher is very close to it. She's an incredible runner. But I don't know if even she could do 11,500 kilometers in just 8 days. They're really impressive animals. Now we're on to my favorite ones, the insects. So dragonflies, like this one, this is a wandering glider dragonfly, and they are incredible migrants. And did any of you know that insects migrate? Did you? Well, there's red admirals. Who knows what a red admiral butterfly is? Yeah, a few of you. What about a cabbage white butterfly? Amazing. Okay, now a difficult one. Has anyone heard of a marmalade hoverfly? Okay, a few. So these are all animals which are very common in your gardens, but they will all do these huge journeys. I study them in the Pyrenees, and they go from maybe northern Europe in the autumn right down to the into Africa in a big journey. And it's amazing that these insects, which are so small, make these huge journeys. This is a dragonfly, which is 5 centimeters long. Yet every year they travel from India to Africa across the sea. And they do it in just 4,000 kilometers in just 4 days. This is an animal that's this big. It's incredible. And if you imagine you're a reindeer and you had to walk 10 meters, then it would take you 5 times your body length. They're 2 meters long. A reindeer goes 5 times his body length to get the 10-meter mark. But if you're an animal that's smaller, you have to travel far more body lengths to get there. So a reindeer going 10 meters takes 5 body lengths. But if we're talking about the godwits, they go 250 times their body length just to get to 10 meters. But the dragonflies, because they're so small, you have 2,000 dragonflies in terms of body length to get just to the 10 meters. And then if we scale this up, so a godwit, if it's going 11,500 kilometers in its journey from Alaska to New Zealand, is going 14 million body lengths to get there. These magical reindeer going around the world, 80,000 kilometers, they have 40 million body lengths traveled, while the dragonflies are the most impressive. And they have 80 million body lengths traveled to go through their 4,000 kilometer journey. Just really, really incredible. And finally, which ones? Let's just go through this. So yes, the dragonflies are the best. But then how do we know where they go? So who knows how Father Christmas gets around the world? How does he know where to go? Yes, you there. He does. Father Christmas uses a GPS to get around the world. But this is only very recently that he worked out how to do this. Oh, amazing. I've got to get one of those. Well, yes, for the last 20, 25 years or so, he has been using a GPS system to get around. But before that, he used the stars, and he migrated and did his journey using the stars. And a lot of animals do this. A lot of moths migrate by starlight. A lot of birds do as well. But so they don't have, but some animals have systems which are almost as good as GPS. And so these robins, which Nilka told you about how sweetly they sung and why they sing, they're also quite migratory, and they go right up and down through Europe. and they can use a magnetic compass to navigate. And so the Earth has a magnetic field, and these animals can detect this field. Because it varies from place to place, they can then work out where they are on the planet, and that lets them know which direction they want to head in, and so they can continue their migration. And yes, is there a question about that? Yeah. How many is it?
74,500.
Wow, that's a very big number. Very big. That's amazing. So yes, these birds can use the magnetic field to tell them where they are. We think insects are a lot simpler, and so they use what's called a sun compass. And so if you all imagine you're a little insect, you have to use the sun as a compass. You've got to get up really early in the morning. You've got to get up when the sun rises, because the sun, when they're migrating, rises in the east, and they know this. And so they lock into their tiny, tiny brains that the sun rises in the east. And if they want to go south, then they've got to work out the difference between where the sun is and where they want to go. But of course, the sun goes overhead during the day. And so the insects have to have an internal clock, which allows them to track where the sun is while still making sure they know where they want to go. And this is quite a complicated little calculation these insects do, but they do it continuously throughout the day so they can find out where they're going. It's really, really amazing. And finally, insects and a lot of other migrants are quite lazy. If they don't have to fly, then they won't. And if they'll use whatever they can to keep their speeds up and where they go. And perhaps the most impressive thing is with these dragonflies, with the ones that go from Africa to India and back again. Because these dragonflies are so small, they can fly up to maybe 1 kilometer in the air when they can find which winds are blowing in the right direction. And then they basically surf on the winds all across to India or Africa, wherever they're going. And yes, is there a question back? It is 1,000 meters. So if here is about 2 meters or so. And so if you imagine me times 500. So it's quite big. And yes, another question. Well, that was a real problem until about, I don't know, 25 years ago, because if you couldn't see the stars, then, and I've heard stories about him being really quite late to a lot of people's presents. But now he's got the GPS tracking. He doesn't need to see the stars. And so he'll be able to get to all of your families and all of your present giving on time this year, I'm sure. And one in the back, yeah.
Another way, humans and other animals know where they are, because north grows on the north, moss grows on the north side of trees. So you can know where south, north, east, and west is because of trees.
Amazing. You're going to be a really good tracker one day, aren't you? Be very good. Oh, that's amazing things to know. It's the same with ivy, actually. Do you all know the plant ivy? Young ivy really likes the shade. And so you can find young ivy where it still has the ivy-shaped leaves, all growing on the northward side. And then when it gets to a certain age, about 10, it starts flowering and the leaves become really wide. Then it moves round and goes to the sunny side. And the reason they like the shade when they're young is so the shade is usually caused by something. So if they stick close to the shade, then they can climb the tree or whatever it is to then get higher up. So that when they need to flower, they're closer to the sun. Okay, and finally, we're going to find out which animal is the best. Which one should Father Christmas take on his sleigh to help? So first, we've got the dragonflies, and they are really, really impressive, but they're only 5 centimeters long, and they only fly about 25 miles an hour. And so you need a lot of them to transport the sleigh, and also you need, they wouldn't fly fast enough. These amazing godwits, which they fly 11,500 kilometers in 8 days, which is really fast, about 35 miles an hour non-stop. But again, that's not fast enough for Father Christmas. So of course, him being Father Christmas and very, very clever, he's chosen the right animals. And those animals are the reindeer, this magical reindeer, which fly 80,000 kilometers around the world in just 30 hours at a top speed of 1,700 miles an hour, which is in fact faster than the speed of sound. And so tonight, on Christmas Eve, this Christmas Eve, I want you all to go outside and look up and see if you can hear the sonic boom as Father Christmas flies overhead, delivering your presents. Thank you very much.